Its latest human rights report on Tuesday, the UN called for Sri Lanka to immediately reverse its slide towards militarization. It also said that the country should prosecute those responsible for leading the island nation into its current unprecedented economic crisis. Sri Lanka under Gotabaya Rajapaksa saw acute food and fuel shortages, lengthy blackouts and spiraling inflation this year. The crisis culminated in a huge crowd storming the presidential residence and chasing out the Rajapaksa clan from the country. Rajapaksa's government was accused of introducing unsustainable tax cuts that drove up government debt and exacerbated economic problems, just as the country was struggling with the impact of the pandemic. The UN Human Rights Office said in its report that it hoped that the new administration would respond to popular demands for accountability for economic crimes, including corruption and abuse of power. It also said that Sri Lanka should have a renewed commitment to end impunity. Rajapaksa's successor, Ranil Wickremesinghe, has taken a hard line against demonstrations since he took charge. He ordered the violent demolition of a protest camp in downtown Colombo and the arrest of leading activists. The UN said that the new government should immediately reverse the drift towards militarization and end the reliance on draconian security laws and crackdowns on peaceful protest. The UN report also repeated long-standing calls by the Rights Office for the prosecution of those responsible for atrocities during the island's decades-long civil war, which ended in May 2009. Sri Lanka has resisted calls to investigate allegations that its troops killed at least 40,000 Tamil civilians in the final months of the conflict. On Monday, Sri Lanka had repeated that it would not accept a UN-imposed human rights program.
I think I outlined my position already. Anything external mechanisms, we are not agreeable, because our constitution doesn't allow that. The Sri Lankan constitution is very clear on that any judicial process should be in terms of the Sri Lankan constitution. So within the Sri Lankan domestic mechanism we agree, but anything externally try to pressurize and take the power away from the constitution, we will not agree to that. That's for clear. So that's the instruction we have got.
The UN report noted that while Sri Lanka still lacked a credible domestic mechanism to investigate war crimes, civil litigation was underway abroad against alleged perpetrators. The United States has sanctioned at least 3 senior Sri Lankan officials who were implicated in war crimes. And for more analysis, joining us now is our correspondent Dasuni Athaura from Colombo. Dasuni, thanks so much for joining us. Now, the UN called for Sri Lanka to immediately reverse its slide towards militarization. What does this mean for the island nation?
Well, yes, Priyanka, this report certainly did focus on several key areas, one of the key being demilitarization in the country, for which the UN report did pinpoint on certain matters, several of them being the crackdown on protesters and civil society leaders and trade union leaders, which we saw over the past few weeks since President Wickremesinghe took over the reins of spearheading Sri Lanka out of this economic crisis. The other focus point in this report was clearly of finding people accountable and holding people accountable for the decades-long civil war that took place in Sri Lanka. Keep in mind that Sri Lanka's civil war ended 12 years ago. So accountability in this aspect also is 12 years late, according to some experts as well, Priyanka.
Right, Dasuni, thanks so much for all those updates and thanks for joining us on WION World is One at this hour. WION World is One is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.